So understand that the word no is a complete sentence. What I think happens, Lisa, is people feel guilty about saying no. And what I think we need to think about is having a decision filtering system for yourself. For me, my mantra is I do what I love, with people I love, in places I love.
Welcome to In Confidence, where what we share in confidence helps us grow in confidence. My guest today is my dear friend, Neen James. I'm so excited for this conversation. Neen is a leadership strategist, a keynote speaker, and the author of Folding Time, Attention Pays, and her new book, Exceptional Experiences, is out now. She spent 2 decades helping some of the world's most prestigious brands, Viacom, Comcast, Virtuoso Travel, Four Seasons, even the FBI, reimagine how they capture attention and create luxury through intentionality. She's got boundless energy, really practical insights, and she helps leaders prioritize what matters most so they can elevate experiences and drive results. She's also joined us today as part of our last quarter challenge, and she's going to share how she says no with thoughtfulness and with care and with empathy. Let's listen in. Neen, welcome to In Confidence.
G'day, gorgeous. What a treat it is to be with you. Thank you for everything you do in the world.
Right back at you. I actually used you as an example for this season. Every week we're going to unveil a challenge. And there was a challenge we are talking about called the compliment ripple. And it's, can you just pay someone a compliment that is genuine, that is specific, and put it out in the world and let it have a butterfly effect? And I specifically talked about you. You sent me a text one day. I woke up to it. I was having a really tough day. And you said, I just want to tell you that everything you're doing in the world is making a difference. And I see you and I value our friendship. And it changed my mood for the rest of the day. And that's who you are in my life. So thank you for coming on to our show.
What a privilege.
Now, we start every podcast episode with a question, which is, what are you proudest of from the past 12 months of your life? There it is.
Meet my new book, baby, Exceptional Experiences.
And we should say we're actually taping this on the day of your publication, which is a huge day for any author.
It is a massive day, but this is the best way to start my day with you. So that is my most proudest. And because, you know how much I recommend all my executives read your book, Gravitas. You know that I love this book so much. But what I'm really proud of is a book allows you to take something that is really special to you and scale it, literally make it available to the world. And so while it's a very vulnerable experience, it takes an enormous amount of confidence, as you know, because you're published and you've got your podcast out there, you've got your beautiful clothes out there. But that's what I'm most proud of, is that this book, there's a stealth message to this, and that is, how do you make people feel seen, heard, and valued? And so what I'm excited about is my book will allow that to be amplified.
And that is so core to who you are. I think you make every person feel seen, valued, and heard. And it's a really rare quality. And I'm so happy you're getting to share it with the world. We're going to talk more about it. And before we talk about it, for those of the folks in our audience who don't know you, how do you make a difference in the world?
I think the way that I get to do it is through that ability to share with people how to make others feel seen, heard, and valued. But the way that I do it is often as a confidant to CEOs of luxury and legacy brands, or as a keynote speaker on a stage. So for me, the modality that I share this message, I have that privilege of working along executives and their teams. So whether it's standing on a ballroom stage or standing at the end of a boardroom table, that's my happy places for sure.
Yeah, and you bring decades of experience of helping people reinvent their brands or reinvent the experience that consumers have with their brand. Can you talk a little bit about a few examples of your impact?
Sure. Whether it is, let's take the application of maybe a hospital system, not something you associate with luxury, right? but I've had the opportunity to do a cultural transformation program with a hospital system. And that has involved working with their executives, working with very key leaders, all the way through to the actual network, the emergency room, the people who are bedside. And so nothing about that might seem luxury. And yet these leaders show up day after day and give their absolute heart and soul for the patients and their families. And so that's one end of the spectrum. And then the other end might be working with the executive team of a luxury travel organization to help them elevate even more for their top tier clients. So the diversity of my portfolio is medical, it's manufacturing, media. So I have this incredible ability to take these frameworks, these playbooks that I create, and apply them no matter what. And so if people are listening to this and they're like, well, hold on, I'm not an executive or I'm not in luxury, you don't have to have a luxury product to provide a luxury experience. And so what I've been able to do is to, with all the consulting I do and all the speaking, is apply that across these different businesses. And what I'm noticing is the employee surveys, the scores go up, the engagement is higher, the sales increase, the executives give their time and attention to their team in a greater way, the board is happier, the stakeholders are more satisfied. So there's like this ripple effect. But the thing that I'm really interested in is that what these brands are able to do when we get to work together is to create advocates. Their team become advocates, which helps the recruiting process and the retention, and their clients become advocates, like an extension of their sales and marketing department. So that helps increase their business. So the book, which I know we're going to get into, but there's two things all my CEOs are measured on. That is mind share and market share. And the book helps capture attention so you can stay top of mind and create advocates by driving revenue, market share, mind share, market share. So what I've got in my book is all the secrets that I share with my clients when I work with their brands.
And I wonder, because I've known you for a few years now, and by the way, we do have to tell the origin story because we met during a hurricane through our dear friend Mike Dominguez at El High. And then you grabbed me because I was running to the airport. You said, we have to stay connected. You hired me to do an event for Virtuoso. And I remember going to San Francisco with you at the Fairmont Hotel. And I had just come off stage. We're drinking some champagne, which is your signature thing. And you said, should we go see like the secret penthouse or the presidential suite at the Fairmont? And I was like, what? What is happening here? And she said, I'm going to send a few text messages. And all of a sudden someone like whisks to the front of the lobby to take us up to the presidential suite. What did you remember? We saw where JFK smuggled in Marilyn Monroe in a secret staircase. We were on a terrace with our champagne glasses. Like that was the moment where I was like, wow, Neen knows luxury. She knows champagne moments. She knows how to make someone feel special. But the thing that I think stood out the most for me, and I wonder if this is a running thread through all the work you do, is you have high regard for empathy. And as you shared those examples, I thought in a hospital system, when are you most anxious? When you're going to have a medical procedure, when you're unsure of the outcome, or I'm about to spend $100,000, $10,000 on a vacation and I'm putting a lot of money at risk. I want to make sure I get the best experience possible. Like I think about the amount of empathy that you as a person have, but then on top of it, how you apply it in a client framework.
Yeah, and when you think about this idea of, Maya Angelou is always quoted of saying, that famous quote about, it's not what you say, it's how you make people feel. And I think luxury is a divisive word. People hear luxury and they think expensive or elitist. And I want to change that narrative, Lisa, because I believe luxury is for everyone. Luxury is inclusive because everyone deserves it every day. And it's exclusive because everyone can roll out the red carpet experience for others. And so the way I live my life is being incredibly inclusive whenever I can. I want to create these significant moments. Every person I meet, I want them to think, oh my gosh, like I'm the most important person in her world at that point, right? So that's inclusion. But exclusive meaning, how can you give people something that they will remember? Create this moment for them. And it doesn't matter whether it's the valet parking the car or the barista getting your coffee or the person that you are in conversation with at the checkout. Like, I am really deliberate about always saying to the person who scans my boarding pass. I mean, some people drive to work, I fly. It's really the same. It's just a different form of commute. But I always make sure that I say to the person who's scanning my boarding pass, thank you for taking care of me today. When I get off the plane, I always say, thank you for taking care of us today. These are easy things, Lisa. They cost nothing, but that person goes, she saw me, she heard me. I think empathy is vital, and our world today needs more kindness than it has ever needed before, and that costs us nothing to pay attention and extend kindness. So think of luxury differently. Think of it as inclusive and exclusive and available to all of us every day.
I love that. And it makes everything more special, right? That's really what you're describing. And I love this duality of inclusive, and the exclusive isn't that I'm excluding people. It's that it feels special and tailored to me.
Yes.
And you live that in your everyday. When I got a puppy, I remember you texted me, send me your home address. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't need more stuff. And you said, no, it's something. And you sent me a squeezy toy, but you monogrammed it with my dog's name, Ripple. And I don't know how much it cost. It probably didn't cost an arm and a leg, but it was the monogramming. And I texted you back with my dog playing with it. And I said, this is the only monogrammed item she has. Like, I don't, but it was sort of like, it probably didn't cost a lot, but it made me and my puppy feel very special. So right. I love that duality.
And that's what I call systemized thoughtfulness. So Lisa, I have systems in place in my life to elevate experiences for others. We talk about this in the book, Exceptional Experiences, because what luxury brands do better than anyone else on this planet is personalization and customization. Think about it. Personalization requires information. I needed your address. I knew your baby's name. So that was 2 pieces of information. So personalization requires information. Customization requires connection. And I knew that we'd be more connected in that way. But here's the thing. When you think about it, anticipating something you didn't even know you needed requires fascination. And so if you think about that, personalization requires information. Customization requires connection, but anticipation requires fascination. And when you really think about that, you can put systems in place. I have a person on Etsy, a small business owner, that every time I learn somebody has a new baby, first thing I do is go to Etsy, order, ship directly to their home so that they get it. And that way too, it doesn't matter whether your baby plays with it or not. You know that I saw this is an extension of your family. Your little girl has become just your whole heart, right? And so that's just an easy way. So that's what I call systemized thoughtfulness. You put systems in place to be thoughtful.
I love it. And I love the personalization, the connection, the anticipation. I think those are such important concepts as we think about this. Well, let's get into the book, because we were able to just kind of get an early view of it. Some of the things you talk about our luxury is about experiences, not things. And it's about making people feel seen, heard, and appreciated. Mic drop, like boom. Talk a bit more about that.
Well, I have this personal mantra, as you know, is that I'm on this mission to make people feel seen, heard, and valued. But I've always believed luxury is a mindset, Lisa, and I get this mindset because when I was a little girl, you may not know this about me, but I come from this tiny little town in Australia, right? So there's one traffic light when I was growing up, and I was raised by a single mum. And in Australia, we lived in a caravan. In America, they call that a trailer park. And my mom would clean houses, she picked lettuce, she sold fruit on the side of the road. But no matter how tired my mum was, at the end of a busy shift, she would walk through a community garden and she would pick a flower and she would bring it home to our little caravan. She'd put it in a glass. We called it a vase because we thought we were fancy. And she reminded us as little girls, it didn't matter about money or things. Everybody deserved luxury. Everybody deserved beauty. Now, understand, my mom role modeled luxury as a mindset. Now, I dedicated the book to my mom. She doesn't know yet. She hasn't seen it. So I'm so excited for her to hold it in her hands. But having that concept of luxury as a mindset from a kid, right? So I just assumed in all the consulting I did that there'd be a research study on luxury as a mindset, right? Nope. There are so many studies, Lisa, on how luxury makes people feel. That's great. That's important. Yay. I am working with executives. I can't walk into Matthew Upchurch, the CEO of Virtuoso Travel, and say, so, luxury is a mindset, okay? He'll be like, Neen, what? I needed data. So I commissioned my own research study. Lisa, I have the only research study of its kind in the world into luxury as a mindset because I wanted to know, how does luxury affect our decisions? How long does it take? Who influences? Where do we get our information from? How does it affect our confidence, our professional development? Did you know that in the survey, 60% of people said luxury made them feel more confident? So here I have this study, Lisa, and what was interesting was I always thought it was one mindset. I was wrong. There's four. And what was interesting about that is no matter what luxury mindset people had at the end of the day, two things they agreed. Luxury is a reward for hard work. And the one that I was most excited about, luxury is about experiences, not things. So it's research oriented. It's not just my personal belief. It's not just what I grew up with from my mom. It is because the research and data shows us right now more than ever before, people value experience over things.
Oh, I love that. And you know, one of the ways in which you talk about this is there are a few luxury mindsets. Can you walk us through those minds? If luxury is a mindset and its experiences, not things, what are all the different mindsets that luxury encompasses?
For sure. And as your guests as your listeners are thinking through this, I would love you just to think about which one are you, right? So
Okay.
as I quickly go through them at a high level. And we can make the research available. It's obviously in the book. But the first is the reluctant and removed. The reluctant and the removed, they feel a little bit guilty about spending money on luxury, Lisa, because this is the person who goes, ugh, luxury is hard. You know, brands don't understand me. I'm busy. I am overwhelmed. You know what? I don't have time for this. And so for them, you want to speak their luxury language by sharing how your product or service will save them time and hassle. That's how you speak the luxury language of a reluctant and a removed. The second of the luxury mindsets, this is our pro prioritizer. What we call them pro because they use luxury to advance their career and their reputation. They say, you know what, luxury is power. It makes me feel better. They invest in professional development. They love working with brands who are authentic and have longevity. Now, here's what's important to our pro prioritizers. They want to associate your brand and understand how do you have an environmental or societal impact. So if you want to speak their luxury language, talk about your sustainability initiatives. Talk about the length of how long you've been in business and what you believe in the world. That's how you speak the luxury language of the pro-prioritizer mindset. The third of the luxury mindsets is the confident and content. The confident and content says, luxury, I'm good. I don't need this. But you know how they use it, Lisa? They use it to create memories with people they love. So if you want to speak the luxury language of that mindset, you might say, imagine having your photo in this dress that's made by Gravitas because it's going to make you feel amazing. And by the way, that could be your holiday card photo as well, right? So you want to speak about how it creates memories with people they love. And then the fourth of the luxury mindsets is the luxury lover. And the luxury lover says, luxury, I'm worth it. Luxury for everyone every day because they love to share it. Now, you'll notice a luxury lover. They speak about luxury, they use luxury, not because they're showing off, because they believe they're worth it. They love the craftsmanship. They love the origin story. But here's how you speak the luxury language of the luxury lover. You give them the private, behind-the-scenes, exclusive access. So, Lisa, when you as the founder of Gravitas step into the dressing room with the person who's trying on your beautiful piece, they're like, oh my gosh, the founder, the designer is with me. That's how you speak the luxury language of a luxury lover. So those four, again, are reluctant and removed, pro-prioritizer, confident and content, and luxury lover. And despite whichever mindset you have, like I said, two things they agreed. Luxury is a reward for hard work, and luxury is about experiences, not things. You can speak their luxury language once you know what it is. We even have a self-assessment so people can discover their own, like you do with your confidence assessment and the superpowers you highlight. So we can do the same thing. I can give it to you to put in the show notes.
I love that. And which one are you, Neen?
Surprise. The person who commissions the luxury study is the luxury lover.
Okay. Well, I think I'm a confident and I think I used to be a luxury lover until you're an entrepreneur and you're just like overwhelmed. And I think I'm a confident and content, somebody who prioritizes experiences and memories and wants to feel good about my life and the moments in it. Now, so part of it is I want to figure out my own luxury mindset. When you think about a brand, do they have all four, or are they trying to go after one or two of the segments? Like, I'm just trying to understand how I use this as a company.
Let me give you some shortcuts. Every audience, as a keynote speaker, every audience has all four. If you are positioning your product to a board, a committee, a team, you can assume all four are in the room. You have to have the ability to flex and message according to all four, right? So yes, if you have a room of people, if you are managing a team of people, if you're on a team call, if you're doing a positioning or a pitch, assume you have all four, right?
Okay.
That's important to know. However, if you want to focus on business development, I would highly recommend you go after the luxury lover. Here's why. Luxury lovers, they have a big mouth. They are massive advocates. They'll post on social media. They will refer their friends. They will post about you. They will talk about you. They will literally organize email introductions for you. Okay. So if you're in business development, go after the luxury lover because they like to tell people about who they love to work with, the brands that are associated, but also go after the pro prioritizer. Because the pro prioritizer, Lisa, is the person who assigns value to your brand and their career and reputation. So think about all the women who've endorsed your beautiful products, right? Because they feel good in those products. They tell their friends about those products. Therefore, you get more repeat clients. So think for those of you listening who are in sales or leadership roles, focus your energy into the luxury lover and the pro prioritizer. One more thing to know about the luxury lover. They're the most influential of all four, meaning they can persuade a reluctant and a removed to invest, a confident and content, or a pro prioritizer.
Oh, I love this framework because that helps people understand how to tap into this mindset that is so valuable. Because when I think about the way you described it, luxury is a reward for hard work. And I think in our brains, the reward center is the one that as you continue to prime it, it continues to seek it.
Yeah, but think about it. Even people who are listening, they're like, I don't have a luxury product or I don't need luxury. I have this friend. He's very successful, very big philanthropist. And he said to me one time, luxury is unnecessary, Neen. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are we friends? I didn't say that out loud. That was my thought. And then I said to him, don't you have top tier status on the airlines? He said, yes. I said, don't you have like top tier status in the hotels? He said, sure. And I was like, don't you use the fast lanes when you're in traffic so you can get there quicker than everyone else? He said, yes. So what do you think his is? His luxury is time. So he will pay for time and convenience. So we also have to understand that luxury is time for people, Lisa. You said as an entrepreneur that, you rethink things. And so I just want people to listen to this and think about some of the clients you serve. If you have a business, you want to look for the opportunity to save them time, give them back time, to make the most of their time. So please always be aware that I think luxury of time is something we need to be very conscious of too.
And that would be the reluctant and removed segment.
Even more so, yeah, that's exactly what he is. He's a reluctant and removed. Because one of the things that they think about is, number one, brands don't understand me. They think, you know what, that's all out there. But because they are overwhelmed, overstressed, overtired, overbusy, they're over everything, we need to show them this is why you're worth it. This is how we save you time. This is how we make it easy. So a travel advisor might say, I'm going to organize a meet and greet at the end of the jetway. So we're going to scoop you up. You don't even have to worry about going through security by yourself. Or we're going to make sure we book you that direct flight so that you don't have to change in the airlines. So what you're looking for is how do you make people's lives easier? I think we can all learn from the reluctant and removed.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It's funny, when I used to be a consultant and I specialized in fashion and luxury products, I always got the question, Lisa, what's your favorite luxury brand? I would always get that question. And the response was always surprising to folks. People expected me to pick like a European heritage brand or whatnot. Sure. And I would always say it's American Girl. And they're like, American Girl? I was like, well, first of all, it's at the time, it's like $118 plastic doll now manufactured by Mattel. And I said, so let's just say you've definitely outpriced the category. But I said, the way the American Girl executives thought about it is they said it was the gift from the favorite aunt. And it's the doll that shows up in all the photos from age 2 to 8. And then if they're lucky enough to go to the cafe and take their doll to tea. And they said literally the doll appears in almost every family photo, right? It's like a part of the family. It's the imaginary friend in real life. And someone said to me, that's a really surprising answer because you could apply that to so many brand strategies, right? Just what did they do? Just the phrase, it's the gift from the favorite aunt. And we kind of took that further. My boyfriend and I, we were babysitting his 6-year-old niece. And we had her overnight. I live in Midtown New York, and I was like, should we take her to the plaza for tea? I feel like it's expensive, it's a lot, but it's once. Like you do it once when you turn 6. And her mom said, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And for the month leading up to us taking her to tea, they read Eloise. She got a really cute yellow dress. She got a little purse. We took my new puppy with us, so she got to have an Eloise style puppy.
Oh my gosh.
And she might not have a deep memory of that, but we have a gazillion photos of us now.
Yeah.
And her mother said the next week when we were catching up, she said, she just keeps talking about it, right? She just keeps talking. And I said, that was worth $100 a person just to go and do that. We're not going to do it every weekend. But you know,
memories that you created. Yes. I think, well, you talk about in the book surrounding the lifestyle. And I think that's something we can do. Surround the lifestyle, whether it's an American Girl doll, whether it's a bag, whether it's tea. My bestie Michael and I, we have a tradition every year. He lives in New York.
I see it on social media. I always text you and you're like, no, this is 24 hours just for us, Lisa. You can't intrude on it.
We see a show, we have a fabulous meal, and it's just such a treat. The two of us look forward to it, we plan it. And I think what's really interesting is these rituals we create with others. They fill up the love bank, these memory banks that we have. And so when you are having a harder time or you're going through something, you can be reminded of these experiences. She will have that experience forever. And she will eventually, when she's older, probably want to treat someone to that same experience like she had.
Well, she has a baby sister now who's now 3 months old. So I'm guessing 6 years from now, I'll be doing that. And you talk about, okay, so understanding these mindsets is important as a company, a brand, being able to anticipate the wants, the needs of these segments. You then have something that you call the experience elevation model with 5 luxury levers. Can you walk us through what that model is?
Yeah, I'd be honored to. This is the model that I use for my consulting with clients. So I had mentioned to you that most of the CEOs I work with are measured on mind share and market share. How are they getting new business and how are they really retaining and driving revenue? And so this model, imagine a triangle. At the bottom of the triangle, let's put mind share, right? How do you capture attention? At the top of the triangle, let's put market share. How do you drive revenue, right? At the first of the luxury levers, you say levers, I'm sorry, levers, is how do you entice? How do you captivate people's attention through the stories you tell so that they want to be, why should I pay attention to that brand? That's something interesting over there. That's called entice. The second of the luxury levers is invite. How do you invite people into your community so that they feel a sense of belonging by speaking the luxury language that's important to them? We have a lot of communication methodologies in the book outlined in a table, whether it's digital or analog. Then the third of the luxury levers is to excite. This is where people go, okay, I'm a little captivated, right? So what are you doing to be share-worthy? What are you doing to engage the 5 senses in a way that people can then have a deeper emotional connection to you and your brand? Then we go to delight. Delight's one of my favorites. This is where you make people feel seen, heard, and valued. This is how you show people you know them really well. And that could have some exclusivity about events and things to that effect. And then we go to ignite. Ignite is the 5th of the luxury levers, which is really about how do you create those advocates? How do you educate them to build referral source? How can you have exclusive events? Like our friend Mike Dominguez is one of the case studies in the book for the work he does at Alhai. He doesn't do events as an attraction strategy. He does it as a retention strategy because he values his clients so much. And so when you think about it, how do you entice, invite, excite, delight, and ignite. And the way you do it is by applying these systems of elevation that I've outlined in the book. Think of it as a playbook full of strategies any business can apply, no matter what kind they are.
Mhm.
If people are listening and they loved Will Guidara's book, Unreasonable Hospitality, which is like, he and I were talking about his book the other night, and we're saying his is like a love letter to the hospitality industry. Mine's the playbook, with a framework and a step-by-step guide of how you do this.
Well, I even like these luxury levers or levers as applied to what I'm going to ask my boyfriend to do. I think he's got to do the same things now. I feel like the luxury mindset. I'm going to give him the pyramid and say, baby, like these are all the things I need you to do to make me feel seen, valued, and heard.
I love this so much. What you'll notice in the book, Lisa, is we use examples from hospitals, from luxury travel, from aviation. Like, it's not just IKEA, Delta Airlines, like there's so many different case studies. So as people are listening to this, I just want to remind them, you don't have to have a luxury product to provide that luxury experience. And I know I've said that several times, but I want people to all understand that they deserve luxury, whatever their luxury is.
And I think friendship is a luxury, right? That's where I was just thinking, like hearing you talk about our personal connection. I think about, I love systemized thoughtfulness. Mm-hmm. I love inclusive and exclusive in terms of it feeling special to that person. These levers, I do think, by the way, in our friendship, you do all of them. I'm looking at like entice, invite, excite, delight, ignite. I think that is, we're now in the ignite phase of our friendship where we can hype each other's work, where, you know, we've done all the hard work on the bottom of the pyramid. So now we've got market share. Hi, I just want to remind everyone around a little special feature on season 3. We're calling it a little bit of a bonus to celebrate our training plan for confidence. We want everyone to take on the last quarter challenge. So each week on Tuesday, when the episode drops, I will be posting on my LinkedIn, Lisa L. Sun. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll be posting the challenge. And if you like that post and you comment on how you've embraced that challenge, how it's made a difference for you, you'll be entered to win a gift that week. So we'll be picking a winner each week. And then if you complete all 10 challenges by the end of the season, if someone actually goes on and likes and posts on all 10, you'll be entered to win a grand giveaway in December. I hope you'll join me in embracing the last quarter challenge. Follow me on LinkedIn and join in on the fun. Now, this season of our podcast is designed as what we call the final quarter challenge. And it's the final quarter of the year. And we've got 10 weeks where each week we introduce a micro moment, a challenge for our audience to take on, something that will help ladder up their confidence as they finish the year and go into the next year. And this week's challenge, I picked you for this week's challenge because we were texting about a specific moment. This week's challenge is called saying no. And when I was a consultant too, I would also say great brands, they aren't just for something, they also know what they're not. And too often we might try to say yes to everything, overcommit. We all hate saying no. It feels like we're letting someone down, or we're cutting off an option, or we're seen as unreliable or inconsiderate. And when you write about luxury making people feel seen, heard, and appreciated, it got me thinking about personally, what if we gave ourselves that same luxury in terms of protecting our time and energy and saying no because we want to feel seen, valued, and heard to ourselves. And the posts that everyone has heard around the world. And of course, when I texted you, you were like, Lisa, you're like the 80th person to text me. Taylor Swift recently said on the New Heights podcast, you should think of your energy as if it's expensive and if it's a luxury item. Not everyone can afford it. Not everyone has invested in you in order to be able to have the capital for you to care about this. What you spend your energy on, that's the day. So I want to turn the script. I want to flip it a little bit and talk about it more on a personal level. How does the idea of giving ourselves the same luxury we give to others resonate with you?
you know that my initial body of work was all about productivity and focus, right? So I wrote a book, Folding Time, How to Achieve Twice as Much in Half the Amount of Time. I wrote a book called Attention Pays. It's your intention that makes attention valuable. So understand that the word no, I have always said, is a complete sentence. What I think happens, Lisa, is people feel guilty about saying no. And I think it sometimes knocks our confidence. Now, early in my career, I had this mantra, say yes now, worry later, because I was building my career. That was about career projection. But as I got more developed, I said to myself, well, if it's not yes, it's no. Meaning, if deep in my soul, it wasn't a yes, it's no. And that's about career protection. And what I think we need to think about is having a decision filtering system for yourself. Now, that might be a private mantra. For me, my mantra is I do what I love with people I love in places I love. That's my decision filtering system. So, am I doing what I love with people I love in places I love? Now, I understand it's a privilege to have the ability to say no. I totally get that. But I'm always looking at things to say, okay, is this aligned with me and my values? Now, if you're just listening to this podcast, I know I sound like I'm 5. You better add 50 years because that's exactly how old I am. It is a privilege to be at this place in my life where I have that. But I think for me, one of the things I wrote about in my book, in Attention Pays actually, was there's 2 kinds of people that we have in our world, Lisa. There's VIPs, like you are a VIP to me, a very inspiring person. You want more time with your VIPs. And then there's these other kind of people, VDPs, very draining people. And we all have them, clients, family, like we know. And I think that it is important to elevate your time with VIPs and minimize your time with VDPs. We can't always eliminate them completely because they are part of our world. But I feel like if you are really very focused on how you're investing your time, attention, and energy, it changes the way you show up. I walk into every room and I assume everyone wants to play with me. I always have. That's where my confidence comes from, right? And I really do believe I'm one of the most confident people I know. And I believe that that confidence is contagious. I write about this in my book. So you have to choose, like, what is your inputs? Who are the people who inspire you? What are the things that inspire you? I'm very deliberate about my inputs. There's certain things I won't see, listen, or read because I need to protect my energy because I'm giving that out into the world. So we all need to review our news sources, our social media sources, our social circles, because that is having an influence on your own mindset. And I'm very protective of mine.
Oh, I love that. And your VDP, I call it time vampires.
Yes.
Right? Sort of like, and it's like, it's things, it's actions, it's people.
Sure.
I'm sort of like, that's a time vampire.
Yeah.
Now, if you flip the switch around that and sort of saying what I give yes to, there's a rationale for it. Does that remove the guilt of saying no?
Yeah, because I think if you're really clear on what you're aligned with. Now, I haven't grown up a people pleaser, and I have dear friends and people I love deeply who have that.
Me, I'm a people pleaser, desperate to be loved and liked.
I am I'm the oldest of 5 kids. So I'm like, I'm going to get things done. I'm going to protect people. I'm going to keep moving. You looked at my superpowers. My superpowers were leading, performing, achieving, creating, believing. Like, I know my superpowers. Yeah. I know that I'm in the front. I'm going to do that. When you choose, my superpower is leading. So being strategic, having vision, you're not going to make everyone happy when you're the person who's setting direction. When I'm facilitating ideation, this is why I work so well with executives, because I can sit at a table and challenge their thinking and challenge the direction because I'm very clear on what I'm good at. When you're doing what you're really good at, it's easier to say yes and not feel guilty about the no. Now, here's the challenge with that. At certain points in your life, you're going to be very focused on things. When I was doing my MBA, I reached out to all my girlfriends because I was working full-time, studying part-time, doing my MBA, traveling like a lunatic. And I was in my career where you're just like projections nutso, right? And so I remember saying to my girlfriends, I'm going to say no to everything you invite me to, but please don't stop inviting me. But while I'm studying, I literally am living, work, and study. That's it. But when I'm finished studying, I want to be still invited to attend the drinks and all the fun things. So don't drop me off the roster. when I was writing my book, I said to people that I love, I will be out of action. I will be consumed because this is my legacy project. I believe in this book more than any other piece of work I've ever published in the world. Now, that doesn't make me a fun human, right? Because I'm not going to be able to go to all the events. I'm going to be on deadlines. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to talk about this book constantly. You're going to be so sick of hearing me talk about this book. Are we good with that? Now, publication date is today. I'm on the other side of that now. So the writing's done, the marketing's done. I've set her free into the world, and she is going to have an amazing life. And I hope she touches people all over the globe. But we have to proactively manage relationships in our life. The people we care about, tell them, this is what I need right now. And I'm going to be saying no to things, not because I don't love you, because that's my life right now. And all you need to say to someone, if they ask you for something, just say, thank you so much for thinking of me. I have a commitment. That's it. The commitment could be your pillow. It could be your workout, could be your diet, could be your book, your study. It doesn't matter. You don't have to tell people what your commitment is. But please honor the invitation by saying thank you for thinking of me. That's how I say no.
And I think there's a step before this, which is you and Taylor Swift would share one of our 8 superpowers is called self-sustaining. I like myself.
That is one of mine. You're so right.
I know it is. I like myself. I don't need to impress you. You can have an opinion of me, but it won't change the opinion I have of myself.
Yeah.
And so I do think when you say no and don't want to feel the guilt, you have to have the strength of character to know that someone else's opinion of you doesn't change your own opinion of you.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because one of the words you put in that superpower was swagger, and I love that word, right? Because self-sustainability has this sort of swagger to it, not from an arrogance point of view, but like, I'm good. I'm a little old lady now. I've like done what I needed to do to get to where I am, and people listening to this might be in the aspirational part of their career, and they don't necessarily have that same level of confidence yet. But I'm here to promise you that on the other side of when you get through it, it is so worth it. Everyone will have opinions. Everyone. But that's not my business. Right? It's always hilarious to me because as a keynote speaker, I speak in front of hundreds of people on a weekly basis, sometimes thousands of people in a stadium. And when people come up to you and they say, can I give you some feedback? I say, no, not today. That's it. That's it. Because here's the thing, if I want feedback of how I was as a client, I'm going to ask my client. If I want to ask how was my speech, I'm going to ask a professional speaker or my keynote director, Mike Ganino. If I want to know how I was on my microphone, I'm going to ask the sound crew. But some random person in an audience who might have got out of bed on the wrong side of the that day, or they don't like my shoes, or they hate the pitch of my voice, I don't know what their issue is. So I just like, no, not today. That's it. That's it.
Okay, Neen. So now I'm going to wander into a personal story. So when I took our quiz 6 years ago, I scored 0 on self-sustaining. I am a firstborn Asian American daughter, people pleaser. You're only loved if you perform. And by the way, I'm now like a 4 or 5 out of 7. Like this is, you write the book you most need to read yourself, right? My book is basically an exercise in helping people become more self-sustaining. And 6 years ago, my younger brother came with me to an event, and it was maybe 1,000 people. And afterwards, a gentleman came up to me and said, I'd love to give you some feedback. And me, people please, of course, like, I don't know who this person is. And he gave me some feedback, and it really crushed me. And my younger brother, who scores very highly in self-sustaining, looked at me because I was all upset. And he goes, do you know that person? Do you care what they think? Do you think you did well? Does the client think you do? I was like, yes, everyone thought I crushed it. I got a standing ovation. And he's like, then good. Like, you don't have to care what that person thinks. And I think over the last, I would say 5 years, I've been on a journey to say no more often. And my formula to not feel guilty is I never give a straightforward no. I say, that's not for me. Here's 3 other people that would be better resources for you. I always say no and I always leave someone with a solution. So people will say like, could I get 15 minutes on your calendar? And I'll say, it's a really busy time of year for me. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I reply to LinkedIn messages within 48 to 72 hours. And I go in and for an hour, I'll go reply to people. Or someone will say, can I have your card? And I'm like, you know what? I don't travel with them because my inbox is overloaded. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I always give someone an alternative.
Beautiful.
And that removes the guilt because I want to be seen as someone who's helpful and makes a difference. Right. And I love your reframe, which I'm going to now add to my equation, which is is it something I love? Is it with people I love, in places I love? I think I need to come up with my own hierarchy that yes, 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 go. If it's a no on one of those, I need to reflect on it and make sure I don't feel guilty about it.
And also to understand that we're in seasons in our life. So sometimes you'll hear me say, you'll never, ever, 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 ever hear me say I'm too busy. Because if you say to someone, I'm too busy, what you're saying is I'm too busy for you. And that feels ugly to me. I never say that. I hate that phrase. I never say I don't have time. I also hate that because that's a lie. I have 1,400 minutes just like you do. So that's not a lie either. But what I will say is I'm at capacity right now. I'm at capacity right now is about me. It's not about you. Or I will say, life is very full right now. That's me drowning. Like if you ever hear me say life is very full right now, I am like that little duck on a pond, maybe a swan, gliding effortlessly across a pond, but underneath my little legs are going like crazy, right? So if I ever say to you, I'm at capacity right now or life is full, that's my version of I'm choosing to do something that is taking a lot of my time, attention, and energy. But I don't have to justify that to anybody because just like that stranger who gave you feedback, unsolicited feedback, by the way, we live in this society. This is one of my high horses. We live in this society where people believe they have a right to give us feedback. They do not. All you want to do is trust the people that you trust. Invite the people who have permission to speak into your life. Ignore the rest.
And, I'm thinking even your luxury mindset as a luxury lover, I'm worth it. The things in my life are valuable to me. Like that is essentially giving you the permission to decide what gets a yes and what gets a no.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
All right. And for someone who's early on in their career where they need to be in a yes mindset, when should they say no?
I think if it's out of your brand values or not in line with your personal brand, I protect my personal brand like fiercely, like my reputation, my career. I am conscious of who I'm with, what brands I am promoting, any of those things. I hate the word influencer, no disrespect to people who that's their profession, but I want to endorse something because I believe in it. I advocate for you and refer you to my clients, not because any money exchanges hands, because you deliver, Lisa. My clients love you. It's easy to recommend you. And so when you're in your career and you're early, make sure it's aligned with your personal values because you're the one who has to sleep at night. You're the one who has to look in the mirror. But also, does it really align with your personal brand? And here's the great thing about a personal brand. You can change it. You can evolve it, right? So if you don't like the brand you have now, fix it. Show up in the world, the packaging, what you put on your body, the language, what you say, what you write, what you share. So I would say to anyone who's new in their career or as they're evolving their career, ask yourself, is this in line with my values and my brand? Because that will help you very quickly go, oh, yes or no. Now, here's the thing. I took some stupid projects. I did some high profile things. I made so many mistakes in my career. But here's the thing. I am also a girl who says, seek forgiveness, not permission. Let's just see what happens. I'm Australian. Rules to me are like, kind of like a guideline. I'll see what I can break, which is why I got to move ahead in my career so quickly. So understand what works for me is not necessarily what's going to work for you. But the one thing you can always do, walk into a room and assume you belong. Assume everyone wants to play with you because that's how you feel more confident, no matter where you are in your career.
I love that. I also wonder, as you were talking earlier about, there's also a theme around who you want to give transparency and problem solving permission to. So I'm thinking about if I have a close relationship with someone and I value what they think of me and I really care, then I have the permission to be transparent about the no. So even I'm just thinking us scheduling our podcast episode, you had texted me and I'm like, I am so buried, Neen. I have not even seen your email yet.
Yeah.
And we have a deep enough relationship where I can be transparent and say, and let's problem solve this. I can get Claire and my team to respond to you. I'll forward it on. And we had the permission to problem solve. In other instances where you don't need to be transparent because it's a no, I love what an old boss of mine used to say, if you need a day off, and you really need the day off, don't explain it, right? So I would say, I need a day off. And the person would be like, well, what are you doing with that day off? And he said, just say it's personal. Because if you just say it's personal, then it's hands off. If you're like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment, blah, 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 then the person will problem solve you. Well, could you schedule that doctor's appointment for another day? Is it urgent, right? And so I wonder if there's another thing around navigating no, which is how transparent you are based upon the relationship you have and how much you care about that relationship. Is that fair to say in saying no?
It's very fair. And that's why I use the phrase, I have another commitment. Because it's
Mm.
nobody's business what the commitment is. It might be with my honey, who I adore and I've been married to my whole life. It might be with my furry baby, Harley, my cat. Like, who cares? Like, it's nobody's business, right? It could be a personal thing. But I think what's interesting too is that people feel like they have a right to have that information and they don't. And so you really want to choose who has a right, who has access. But you also want to set them up for success as well. Because if you're asking for a friend for feedback or you're asking them to hold space for you while you go and pursue something else, my bestie Michael, I have such love for him, but sometimes he'll say to me, how do you want me to listen? Because he's a chief marketing officer. So sometimes I'm like, I need your marketing brain. Or I need, because, people in your life who want to solve or help you fix those particular challenges, their natural inclination is for your best intentions. But sometimes I'll say to Michael, I just need to vent and vomit all this stuff that happened. Can you help me sort it through? Right?
Mm.
So also setting your friends up or those advocates for success is important too. So when it comes to yes, you can have people hold you accountable for what's yes. I have a personal trainer. I have a keynote director. I have a business coach. I have all these levels of accountability in my life so that if I say yes to something, I can then honor those relationships, which by the way, I'm paying for. So that is also another layer of accountability for myself. So think about how you build accountability in for the things you want to say yes to and the things you want to say no to.
And I love that because ultimately we started this conversation around the guilt that comes with saying no. And I love that we are two ends of the spectrum, the people pleaser and the self-sustainer.
Right.
And I think where we meet in the middle is truly around having the strength of character to know what matters to you, the
Yes.
people that matter to you. And then when you say no, it doesn't feel so bad.
And extend grace to yourself. Please, more than ever before, please extend grace. And understand that some days you're showing up like in your superpowers to use your great work out of the gravitas. And some days you're just a hot mess. And you know what? That's the reality, right? But it's the people that love you even through the hot mess. You also have to extend grace to yourself on those days.
Yes, agreed. It's the rule of thirds. A third of the time I feel terrible. A third of the time I feel okay. And a third of the time I feel great. So thank you for a permission slip on the 2/3 when it's not great. Well, I love this conversation with you. I'm so excited to celebrate your book launch. I can't wait to see it out in the world and making a huge difference. Thank you so much, Neen.
Thank you for everything you do. It's such a treat.
Right back at you. I hope you love this episode of In Confidence. If you're not a fan of Neen's already, I know you are now. Her thoughts around systemized thoughtfulness, I'm going to be implementing that right away. Personalization, customization, connection, anticipation. I feel like I could apply that to my personal life and my professional life today. I also loved how she describes luxury as experiences and not things, and that all of us deserve to have luxury in our life. What a special set of insights. Please get her book, Exceptional Experiences. I can tell you that it will transform the way you think about luxury. And I appreciate that she joined us for the last quarter challenge, how to say no. First of all, her idea of having a decision criteria for what you say yes to in terms of things you love to do, people you love, and places you love. I love that decision framework. And how to say no without feeling guilty or that you need to please someone else. Brilliant. Please join us for the last quarter challenge this week because the practice is so simple. Say no just once and notice the space it creates. As Neen showed us, every no is actually a yes. It's a yes to yourself, to rest, to focus, to prioritize what matters most in your life. To dive deeper into this mindset, make sure you order her book, Exceptional Experiences. I can tell you firsthand, it will transform the way you think about every single experience and how to elevate it. Now, I hope you love this episode of In Confidence. I hope you're leaving this space stronger than the way you entered it. Please share this episode with someone who needed to hear it today. Subscribe so you never miss a moment of inspiration. And until next time, in the words of my 9-year-old self, I see you, I value you, and I believe in you. This is In Confidence.